Well, Razorback fans, it is that time. It is the NCAA Tournament. It is the first round for the Arkansas Razorbacks as they take on Kansas. So we got to ask the age-old question. What if the Arkansas Razorbacks win? Let's talk about it in today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Thursday here, as we know that the Arkansas Razorbacks will be taking on the Kansas Jayhawks in the very first round of the NCAA Tournament, happening later tonight. It's a game that we've been talking about, we've been looking forward to, and I actually had the opportunity to go to the practices for the Razorbacks and the shoot-around, get to hear from some of the coaches, some of the players, and being up here in Providence, it's a whole new animal. It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new game, but it has officially arrived here. And, you know, it's funny because I usually do a lot of these types of podcasts, like where I just sit back and try to decide and try to discuss of, you know, what happens if this, what happens if that. And I know what we can look at it a lot of different ways. And a lot of you can maybe take your own perceptions on things and maybe take your own ideas on things of maybe if it's too optimistic, maybe it's too pessimistic, whatever it may be for the Razorbacks. But right now, it's a very simple thing for Arkansas is just going out there and winning. I mean, that's what they got to do, right? You like to survive and advance. Well, what if Arkansas beats Kansas? Well, here's the thing. The expectation for myself, at least in most cases, and maybe even more of you, there's probably more of you out there that do that. The expectation is that Arkansas is going to win this game. I mean, I would consider it to be a little bit disappointing if they didn't, which we'll talk about here in a little bit of what if they lose. But if they win, it's really going to turn a lot of people who have been maybe haters of John Calipari, who have maybe talked down about him and maybe felt like he was actually cooked, that he wasn't actually in his prime anymore, that he was over the top, over the hill, not a good coach anymore. You know, all the little things that you could add up and that you could talk about, it would really put a damper on any of those arguments anymore. Not to say that one game in the NCAA tournament changes everything, but the one thing that so many people, and I know a lot of the fans and everything have said it, talking about fans of other fan bases and whatnot, about John Calipari is that he just can't win anymore. He just can't win in the NCAA tournament. He loses these games. He's not good enough to be in these games. He's not a good enough coach. He doesn't know how to adapt. He doesn't know how to adjust. He's archaic. You know, all these things everybody just constantly brings up. And if you really think about it, what is the evidence of that for them? What is the thing that they point to the most when it comes to Cal and their very negative, pessimistic viewpoints of him? It comes from his lack of success in the NCAA tournament over the past few years. That's it. They don't point to his regular season success because, let's be honest, he's had a pretty good amount of regular season success over the past 4 to 5 years when he was at Kentucky. They don't point to that. They don't point to his recruiting dropping off. They don't point to his lack of NBA draft picks because those aren't there. What do they point to? They point to his lack of winning in the NCAA tournament, and that's it. Which I can admit would be pretty frustrating if I was, say, a Kentucky fan that felt that way. I would be upset. I would be bummed by it because they haven't had that success. But as I've said many times, the NCAA tournament is such a crapshoot. It's a very difficult thing to win in. And if you're just expecting to walk in and because of who you are or what you do or how much of a talented team that you have that you're just expected to win and win at a high level and win pretty consistently in it, good on you, but it's not as easy as what it sounds. I mean, there's been so many good teams and good programs that have not had success every single year in the NCAA tournament. It's just unfortunate for John Calipari that he has only won one game in the NCAA tournament since the COVID season. It's not good, of course. I mean, I know that he wants more. But it's not like they've limped into the NCAA tournament every single year. It's not like they just were desperate and grasping at straws and ended up being a play-in game every single time, and that was it. They had great regular seasons against really good teams where they beat teams pretty handedly and had a really good record, but as we all know in the NCAA tournament, you never know what to expect. Sometimes another team gets hot. Sometimes a team plays their worst game of the season, and that's that. That's what it turns into. But with Cal and everything that he has and everything that he has tried to prove so many people wrong in this season, this is a time and this is a year to where he finally feels like he can shut up the naysayers, because this isn't just a team that was so good in the regular season and ended up falling short in the NCAA tournament to a mid-major, lesser-than team. Arkansas technically is the lesser-than team. They're the team that did not have all the wins to come along with it in the regular season. They're the team that had to scrape and claw at every single piece of success that they had. And really going into the final couple of games of the regular season were not solidified in the NCAA tournament. And here they are going up against a higher seeded Kansas team with another Hall of Fame coach who has won multiple national championships in Bill Self. And now they are the ones that are trying to right the ship and put it all together. So if Arkansas is to win this game, if they're to win this game against Kansas, it's going to be hard for any of the people who really hate on Cal and have hated on Cal to say that he's over the hill. He can't coach anymore. He's just not good. He's archaic. Because you're going up against a really good program in Kansas. Granted, they're not the same Kansas that they have been in previous years. That's why they're a 7 seed. But you took care of business. You got to win against a high-level program and a really great coach. And you did it in a way to where everyone was doubting you and everyone was begging, pleading for you to lose, pleading for you to fall short. They wanted it so bad that they could have tasted it. But it didn't matter because you were able to scrap and claw your way to victory. Now, as I said before, it's not going to make everybody just celebrate and pop bottles and hang the banner of excitement if Arkansas makes the round of 32 and then loses to St. John's or whoever. Like, it's not going to be that level of elation and partying that everybody thinks like it might. But it's certainly going to have to quiet a lot of those people that feel like that's just Cal and who he is, that he loses in the first round of the tournament. Because he didn't. And if anything, it's continuing to prove that Arkansas is playing their best basketball right now at this point of the year. Now, you may look at it in a different perspective, but in my perspective, I believe that if you are ever to be considered a team that is playing their best basketball at this point in time of the season, we're talking about right now in March in the NCAA tournament. If people are saying and seeing, and there's evidence of it, that you are playing your best basketball, how in the world can you say that a coach is no good? If your coach and his team are performing at their best in the most crucial time of the year, how in the world can you say with a straight face that that coach is no longer relevant, that they're no longer at all considered to be one of the coaches that they maybe once were, that they're over the hill? Like, how can you do that? You can't. There's no evidence of it. And I believe that if Arkansas wins this game against Kansas, you're going to see a lot of the people out there that are going to be either one, eating crow, or two, just not saying anything. They're just going to act like it didn't happen. They're not going to give Cal credit. They're going to talk about, the Nelly Davis and the performance, and getting Boogie Flan back and how important that was. Or, whatever, getting these players back that just made all the difference in the world. They're not going to give Cal credit for it. That's just the reality, because heaven forbid they end up admitting that they're wrong. But I say all that because if they beat Kansas, you as a Razorback fan should be, one, thrilled because you're another win the NCAA tournament. But two, you should be really confident that Cal, of all the possible doubts that you may have had, of all the things that you've heard from other fan bases, from Kentucky fans, and what they think about him and what they think that he's going to be doing, and how, hey, you helped us out. You did us a huge favor by taking this coach that's no good anymore and saving us a ton of money. Like, you're going to feel so much more confident about your coach and about what he can do for the future of your Razorback basketball program. Is one game going to do that? Maybe I'm overstating it, but I truly believe that the more that you can crush narratives, the more that you can just shove aside any of these other fan bases and any of these other people that are doubting your coach, when you have clear, concrete evidence that the guy can still be that guy, then you're the one that's in a great position for it. You're the one that can be excited. You're the one that can talk your crap. You're the one that can feel great about it and say, you know what? You can say whatever you want about my coach. You can say whatever you want about how much we're paying or how much we're doing or what the regular season was, but I know that my coach still has it. He's still got it. He can still do it. And if he was able to do it with the amount of things that went against him this season, let's see what he can do when he has more pieces, and maybe in some cases better pieces, the following season. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun to watch. But we'll talk about more of that. And as much as I hate to do it, but we got to look at it from the other side. What if Arkansas loses to Kansas? We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out and online shopping and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. When you start using Monarch, you realize just how much you were spending on random things like food delivery and all that. But now you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay at the same page without the stresses that come along with it. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Razorback fans, we're also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets should not be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks has a curation that makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater shows, and so much more. And you can get great deals, especially during the NCAA Tournament. They have the lowest price guarantee, or the Game Time app will credit you 110% of the difference. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I know this is probably something that not many of you want to hear, and you probably are starting to turn the podcast off because you don't want any negative vibes, which I understand. But I feel like anytime I do one of these types of podcasts, when I ask the what if question, I got to look at it both sides, especially with a game of this magnitude. We just discussed what if Arkansas beats Kansas, but now we have to discuss what if Arkansas loses to Kansas. Nobody wants that. You don't want it. I don't want it. The American people don't want it. But you got to look at the possibility. Let's just be honest. If Arkansas was to lose to Kansas, it would be a massive bummer. It really would be. Not because that you were just so far and away a better team than Kansas, or that you just went into this game expecting to win because you're the superior team. Like, nothing like that. It would be such a bummer to me because of how far you came to get to this point. Now, stay with me on this. We know the trials and tribulations that you went through in the regular season. There's no doubt about it. You had some bad losses. You had some injuries. You had some bad struggles, some bad performances. All of these things mounted up and put together. And then when it came down to it, you were falling well below your expectation. I mean, you couldn't even get some easy SEC wins against not so great opponents. You lost some tough games. You lost to an LSU on the road. You lost to a South Carolina on the road. You lost to an Oklahoma at home. You just didn't have times where it all felt good. And that stretch, when you started 1-6 in conference play, it would have been hard-pressed to think that Arkansas was going to make the NCAA tournament. It's not anything negative. It's just being honest. Like, it just didn't seem like you were in any contention to possibly make it to the NCAA tournament. But the fact that you were able to turn it around and to be able to put things rolling in the right direction, to get the players going, to make the parts move the way they were supposed to move and get the wins when you're supposed to get them, to do all those things and to go through what you went through and to overcome what you overcame, for it to just end in round one is a bummer. Like, you went and did all those things, and then in the end of the day, it just didn't matter because you still lost. I mean, sure, you got to the tournament. That's great, but how could you possibly do the things that you did to get to the tournament and playing your best basketball and then getting Boogie Flan back, doing all of these things where people doubted you? You get to this point and then you got nothing to show for it. You can't have that happen. But it is a possibility. And it just seemed like it would be all for naught. It would just seem like such a waste of what should have been, what could have been, what all the things that you had going on, for it to fall short and to end that way is a buzzkill. And it really kills any sort of momentum that you had going into the offseason. Sure, you got a lot of great players coming in. You got a lot of great freshmen coming in that people are excited about. I'm one of them. I mean, I'm excited about some of the players that they're going to be bringing in. We'll see what you do in the portal and everything like that. But there'll still be an idea of like, well, these great players are great and everything, but we said that last year. And look what the team did. They struggled in the regular season. They couldn't win a bunch of games. And even when we got into the tournament, we couldn't win any games. We didn't win at all. So who's to say that we'll do it next year? There'll be those doubts in people's minds. They'll be feeling like, okay, well, on paper it looks good, but until I'm shown a little something, until I actually see it in action, in evidence of it, I'm not going to believe it. I refuse to believe it. But then the thing that'll come on top of all of that, and the thing that I think nobody wants, and it would be the worst for everybody involved, would be the I told you so's. Kentucky fans especially. I mean, you can say whatever you want, Kentucky fans. You can bring up whatever you want. You can make up whatever you want. But there is only one thing that has been consistent, or was consistent, about you when Arkansas hired Calipari, and that is the simple phrase. If I had a nickel for every time I saw it, I'd be a naked man. But I'm telling you right now, the simple phrase of good luck or have fun losing in the first round of the tournament. That was it. It wasn't about the money or the lack of recruiting or the lack of regular season success, anything like that. It was all about have fun losing in the first round of the tournament. Now, when Arkansas started struggling in the regular season, the Kentucky fans came out of the woodwork and acted like they knew that this was going to happen, which was so stupid and dumb, because no, they didn't. They still felt like Arkansas was going to be a good team and be able to possibly make some noise in the regular season. Nobody anticipated what was going to happen in the regular season, but they tried to make it out to be. So you can't even claim that. The biggest thing that y'all always talked about was about losing in the first round. Have fun losing in the first round of the tournament. Burp, burp, burp. Well, if you lose in the first round of the tournament, you're going to have to hear about it. I'm going to have to hear about it. I won't be able to get on social media without somebody from Big Blue Nation or some person that doesn't even have a Twitter picture of themselves or anything, just trolling and talking about, we told you so. We told you so. Yeah, we told you so. We told you so. Good, yeah, good. Glad you took Cal, blah, blah, blah. Now, is that going to matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to you as a fan? No, it's more of just of annoyance. It's like just a nuisance. It's a fly in the ointment. It's just, you got a fly flying around, and it's not like changing your life, but it's still kind of annoying. That's what it's going to be. But the last thing you want to do, though, is have that coupled with all the people from the national media perspective that are going to do the same thing because they know it gives them clicks. It gives them interactions. They know that Kentucky fans are going to be watching it like they watch some, adult-rated stuff, and they're going to just be loving it so much. And then they're also going to know Razorback fans are going to watch it because they're upset and pissed off and calling them idiots for doing it. Like, they know it, and they're going to get that engagement. You're just going to have to hear about it. And that's something I want to avoid for not just my own mental psyche, but for all of yours. Y'all don't deserve that. Y'all deserve more than that. So let's just not let that happen. Let's just win. And then we can go and deal with the consequences afterwards. Well, let's just do that first. And then deal with the consequences afterwards. Shall we? Let's shout. All right, we are going to get into our final segment here on the show because I want to talk about something I remember. I remember the last time Arkansas and Kansas played each other in the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that in a second. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, daylight savings time snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-hour energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more of the fun, and sometimes you need a little boost to be able to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day at work, 5-hour energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've been staying up late a lot, having to not only do a lot of these podcasts, but having to do all the stuff for work for Inside Arkansas and be able to check out NCAA tournament games and everything. And it's a nightmare. But what keeps me up, what keeps me going the next day is those 5-hour energies. With longer days, I love getting outside and being able to enjoy myself, but also feeling excited to take on the day. So head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. Need one now? Well, grab a 5-hour energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up on today and stay energized with 5-hour energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I know that the NCAA tournament is different now. There's different teams, different circumstances, different everything of what Arkansas is going to be facing in Kansas. But I do want to admit that I remember vividly, and I was talking with some friends of mine about the last time Arkansas played Kansas in the NCAA tournament. It was back in 2023. All of us remember it. It was in Des Moines, and Arkansas beat Kansas to advance to the Sweet 16 in Vegas. Was one of the most epic games that you would have, and one of the most, honestly, absurd games, because I went into it feeling like Arkansas was not going to win just because of Kansas being the defending champs and all of that, and, of course, the up-and-down season that they had. And they came through in the clutch, mainly due to the performance of Ricky Council and Devo Davis. Both of those guys were able to hit free throws like crazy. They hit their shots, especially in the second half. And also give a shout-out to Kamani Johnson. Kamani Johnson had a really great game and was a crucial guy in that when it came to rebounding and everything. But it was just an epic game. I remember the celebration of it. Musk taking his shirt off and going wild and jumping up and down, and the players and the fans all up there. They just couldn't believe it because nobody could. But the excitement that they have. I remember Devo Davis crying in the post game on CBS, because that's how much they'd been through and how excited they were to finally get that win. And, just the ebbs and flows of it all, and how good it felt to where, the previous years with Muss and those runs that you made to the Elite Eight, you were a really good team and you knew it. You knew that you were a good team in that first year with Moses Moody and all of them, because you were a 3 seed. You knew you were a good team that next year, because you had Dote and Williams, and you had a great draw, and you knew you were a really good team. But in 2023, you didn't really know it. You felt like, hey, is capable of it, but it never lived up to it. You lost Trevin Brazil for the season. Nick Smith was on and off hurt. Like, you just didn't really know what you had until you had it. And then once you were able to do that, it didn't matter what you did. That's the ultimate example, folks, that I use constantly, and you probably get tired of it. It's the ultimate example of it does not matter what you do in the regular season if you advance in the NCAA tournament. Arkansas lost some bad games that year. They had some dumb losses in the SEC. They went 8-10. They finished with the 10th seed in the SEC, and that was before Texas and Oklahoma joined. So you're talking about they were the 10 seed out of 14 teams. They get into the tournament in the 8-9 game, and they beat Kansas to advance to the Sweet 16. Are any of you, when you remember that season, do any of you, the first thing you bring up is them losing to LSU on the road, or them losing to some other terrible team, struggling, not being able to shoot the 3 very well? Do any of y'all remember that? Maybe you do, but it's not the first thing you bring up. It's not the first thing you talk about. It's not the first thing you brag about. The thing you bring up is Sweet 16. You went to the Sweet 16. You beat Kansas. And that's all that matters. And that's always got to be a great reminder for all of us, no matter what. It's about what you do in March Madness. If Arkansas makes it to the Sweet 16 this year, are any of you going to remember that 1-6 start? Are any of you going to remember that bad loss to South Carolina on the road? Maybe you do a little, but not enough, because you made it to the Sweet 16, made it to the Elite Eight, wherever it is. That's what you remember. That's what people care about, and that's the most important thing. What you do in March Madness every single time. Really hope I get to do this podcast tomorrow talking about a big win. Guess we'll wait and see. Appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Neighbors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have, and we'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.